Hello and welcome to the history of Stargate Atlantis. Today's episode we're going to be covering Dr. Carson Beckett, and here we go. Carson Beckett was the Chief Medical Officer of Atlantis Expedition from 2004 to 2007, a posting he held for 4 years, up until his death in January 2007. In the far distant past, at least one ancient became an ancestor in Beckett's family line, passing down the ancient technology activation gene to him. Beckett, a Scottish-British citizen, came from a family of 7 and was very close to his mother. He was born with the ancient technology activation gene, which he discovered and enables him to access ancient technology, but doesn't have complete control over such tech, though his ability improved over time with practice. He is somewhat afraid of control chairs due to his unpleasant experience in Antarctica, as well as Stargate travel, declaring that having an individual dematerialize and sent hundreds to thousands of light years, Beckett's 2 most prominent achievements were the development of the ancient technology activation gene therapy that delivers the gene to 48% of recipients, and the retrovirus that suppresses the Atlantis bug's elements in Wraith DNA. 2004, he was hired to join the Atlantis expedition in Antarctica. Dr. Rodney McKay forced a reluctant Carson to sit in the control chair in the Atlantis outpost to determine the location of Atlantis, since he was a natural carrier of the ancient technology activation gene. He unintentionally activated a drone weapon and sent it hurling straight towards Major John Shepard and General Brigadier Jack O'Neill's helicopter. Beckett was slowly guided to successfully deactivate the drone. After Dr. Daniel Jackson successfully deciphered the Stargate address of Atlantis, Beckett had volunteered to join the expedition as Chief Medical Officer of Atlantis. During the first week, he already discovered a small amount of Wraith physiology from a severed arm brought back by Shepard, including the fact that they don't die from natural aging. Shortly after arriving, he developed the ancient technology activation gene therapy and tested it on Dr. Rodney McKay. The test proved successful on him, and later 46% of those who received it. Later, he treated Lieutenant Aaron Ford after he was attacked by the shadow creature. He described his burns as similar to that of being struck by lightning. When Major John Shepard and his team's puddle jumper was lodged in the Stargate, he instructed Lieutenant Aaron Ford and Taylor on how to remove the Atlantis bug. He suggested the use of a defibrillator to stop his heart. When Shepard could not be revived, he had them enter the event horizon and then revived him when they reached Atlantis. When Dr. Rodney McKay was shot in the face with a Wraith stunner, he informed him that he was experiencing partial paralysis but would make a full recovery. Later in the Atlantis expedition, he discovered a planet called Hoth, where the inhabitants were attempting to develop a drug that would make them immune to the Wraith feeding. Beckett worked with a Hothan scientist named Perna, who he developed a fondness to speed up the drug's development process, which was successfully tested on a volunteer terminally ill patient, though Beckett was reluctant to agree to the test without a full analysis of the drug's long-term effect on humans. The test was preliminarily a success until the Wraith test subject died from food poisoning, and the human test subject died anyways. His initial fear proved well-founded when Chancellor Durhan of Hoth began mass vaccinations, which revealed a 50% mortality rate. Beckett joined his team opposing the Hothan determination to disseminate the drug on a galactic scale after Perna died due to the drug, along with Major John Shepard's team left the planet, no longer planning an alliance between them. Sometime before the Lantean storm, he had learned how to pilot a puddle jumper. He went to the mainland to help the Athosian settlement evacuate to Atlantis. However, by that time, the last of the hunters arrived at the puddle jumper. The storm was about to hit, and Beckett insisted he lacked the skills to fly it through. He was eventually persuaded by Lieutenant Aaron Ford during the eye of the storm to return to Atlantis after learning that a Janai strike team infiltrated the city. After arriving back on Atlantis, he, along with Ford and Taylor, saved John Shepard from a Janai trap and helped him retake the city. However, in the process, he was teamed up with Taylor and was knocked out by Sora Tyrus, who wanted to be alone with Taylor so she could avenge her father's death. After Taylor defeated Sora, They carried him to safety in Stargate operations. 2005, when an ancient nanovirus was released from the nanite lab, he was called to discover the cause of the deaths of Dr. Wagner and Dr. Johnson. He ordered his pathologist to autopsy the bodies. She discovered that they both died of a ruptured scapular brain aneurysm just above the visual cortex. He and Dr. Rodney McKay then discovered that the virus was actually nanites. Fortunately, Major John Shepard was able to overload a naquita generator, causing an electromagnetic pulse, which deactivated the nanites. When Major John Shepard brought Shia Sar to Atlantis, he did a full examination on her and found that she was in perfect health. He was suspicious as she was far too healthy for her society's level of advancement. While searching Atlantis, Major John Shepard's team found a room with a woman preserved in a stasis pod. He argued against reviving her as she was near death, but was overruled by Dr. Elizabeth Weir. After reviving her, it is discovered that she is an alternate Dr. Elizabeth Weir. She explained that in her timeline, he had drowned helping the people evacuate to the jumper bay. When a dart was detected heading towards Atlantis, he and Sergeant Bates piloted a jumper shuttle to take it down, but it self-destructed before Carson was able to get a clear shot. Hey, thank you for watching the History of Stargate. Have a great day. Bye-bye.